Welcome to the Blueprint of Life video 6. In this video, we're going to be looking at Gregor Mendel and how he contributed to our understanding of genetics, some of the work that he did, and the important role that he played. Sometimes we refer to Mendel as the father of genetics, and he experimented with a variety of garden pea plants, and through his investigations recorded different ratios of some characteristics that he isolated in the plants. He ended up showing that inherited characteristics are passed down as units, as what he called them, but we now refer to these units as genes from their parents to their offspring. He proposed this model of inheritance, and we found that he could predict the ratios of offspring from two specific parents. So when we look at Mendel, what he did, he experimented with the garden pea plants, and that was because they could easily grow, they could easily be crossbred. They had quite a short life cycle, and the plant had both male and female parts. Each trait could be studied individually, which meant he was only investigating one feature at a time. On the right-hand side here, we could see the different characteristics of the pea plants that Mendel found, and he found that they differed in seed shape, seed color, the seed coat, the pod shape, the pod color, the flower and pod position, and then the length of the stems. The way in which Mendel studied this was he established pure breeding lines of pea plants which could be crossbred, and he found that the initial offspring would resemble one of the parents, but in later generations, the other parent's traits would arise, which at first led him to think that traits skipped a generation. From his study, he was able to develop mathematical ratios to produce his own laws, which we refer to as Mendel's laws of dominance and segregation, and then his law of independent assortment. Mendel used a variety of techniques which allowed him to gather quantitative data, which allowed him to arrive at valid conclusions. And we can see here some of the techniques that allowed him to achieve validity, reliability, and accuracy with his results, which contributed to his results being accepted by the scientific community. In terms of being valid and reliable, he only changed one variable at a time and controlled all others. He used large sample sizes and repeated his experiments for the different traits, and he was able to analyze his results mathematically to identify patterns and trends. In terms of his accuracy, he reduced the possibility of error by conducting the experiments in controlled environments. So he actually conducted them inside greenhouses. The plants were isolated from any others to ensure that there was no accidental cross-pollination, and then he also prevented accidental self-pollination by removing their reproductive organs and manually pollinating the plants. At first, Mendel's work was not recognized, and it took quite a while for the scientific community to take notice of the importance of his work. Some of the reasons why people suggest that his work was ignored was because it was too progressive. Very little was known about cells and genetics when Mendel first proposed his work. His work was originally only presented to a very small group of scientists. It was different to previous research and therefore might not have been understood by lots of people in the scientific community, and he had no established reputation or recognition within the scientific community. But as biologists approach the 20th century, they use the mechanisms of inheritance and the work of Darwin to explain the process of natural selection, which we know of today, and that is that the selection of genes in a population through the survival and reproduction of organisms that are most fit to survive in their environment. That's video 6. Make sure you tune in for video 7.